Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Right. Hello, everybody. And this is Kev Campbell and the Highbury Squad promotions. And we've got Danny from a Bergkamp Wonderland on. How are you, Dan?
I'm very good, Kev. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you, Danny. Danny, could you let people know where to find you? Because we do this at the start, not at the end.
Well, you can find me. You don't usually give out my Twitter name because people in life, they go, oh, I want 1,000 followers. You want no followers on Twitter. The more followers you have, the more people are going to tell you you're wrong. And as I'm regularly wrong, I don't want to be told. So it's at @the_GFP, and GFP is my car, not me. And the podcast is the AFC podcast, which is Bergkamp Wonderland, like you said.
Which is an excellent podcast, by the way.
Thanks.
And I've been on and I've seen many of your shows, and I thoroughly enjoy it. And the great thing I like is that you get people on who's got different opinions. It's not all the same type of thing. So
yeah,
well done for that. But
thanks.
Dan,
yes,
I want to delve deeper into you actually. And find out, you're a big gooner, and I want to find out more about you. And I've got 10 questions for you. So are you ready for Who Are You, mate?
I certainly am.
Right. So, Danny, do you remember your first ever game at Highbury?
Yes, I do. It was because I've got every game I've ever been to written down because it's otherwise I'd forget. The 17th of November, 1987, Arsenal 3, Stoke 0 in the League Cup.
Wow. That Stoke come up again.
Hey, I think most people didn't mind Stoke back then because they gave us Steve Ball. I think they gave us Steve Bold and Lee Dixon, but I don't know if
they did. 87, yeah, they gave us them, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure at what point they left Stoke to come to Arsenal, but
yeah, they
so
did.
That was it.
Yeah, took them both. And I don't know if you were, how old were you then? If you don't mind me asking, were you a youngster, real youngster?
I was just gone 17.
Right. Okay. So we're around about the same age, aren't we? And I don't know if you remember the time. There was a lot of people who weren't sure about Lee Dixon and Steve Bold, because Steve Bold had played fullback at 6'4", 6'4" inch fullback, and Lee Dixon obviously was a right back. We had Nigel Winterburn playing right back at the time, just before them, because Kenny Sansom was left back. So 3-0 win. Do you know who got the goals, Dan?
I'm just going to go and have a look at that because I thought you might ask me. So that'd be in the 87-88 season. We're going to go to the League Cup, and that's Bournemouth. Here we go. The goals were David O'Leary, Kevin Richardson, much underrated player,
underrated,
and Rocky Rocastle.
Fantastic, brilliant, bless him, Rocky. And who was your favourite player at that time, Dan?
Kenny Sansom.
Well,
fantastic.
Danny, there's many young players who probably won't know Kenny Sansom. And at the time, Kenny Sansom was probably the best left back in the world, wasn't he? At the time, and he was an Arsenal man. He played at Crystal Palace. Arsenal got him, and he was captain at that time as well, wasn't he?
For Arsenal.
At Arsenal.
Yes, he was. Yeah, captain for ages before. I think it was him and David O'Leary.
David O'Leary was vice captain, I think. Yeah.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he was captain until I think we bought Winterburn in, and then Adams became captain. I say Adams as if I'm a friend of his, Mr. Tony Adams.
No, but he's one of our own, isn't he? Tony came through the ranks, like and Big Tony was a superb captain. And we miss a player like him up to this day, don't we?
Dear. We miss half that team. They'd all be brilliant now.
Oh man, how much would the likes of Rocky Rollcastle be worth now? My goodness.
I think along the same lines as Saka. 80, 90, 100 million.
Easy.
Especially in his early years before he got those knee injuries.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. And Danny, do you come from a family of Gooners?
Or a family of no football.
Really?
I don't know anybody in my family nobody liked football. So my first game was a couple of weeks before that. It was at Spurs, and we won 2-1. I think Pat van den Hauwe might have scored first, and then Rocastle and Thomas scored for us. So 1-0 down, 2-1 up.
Yeah,
great song. And oh no, it's a fanzine, isn't it? And yeah. So that was on the 17th, I think 17th of October. So a week past my birthday, and so my dad said, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" And I said, "I want to go to a football." And he went, "Well, you organise the tickets and then we'll go." So I rang Spurs. I sat on the stairs. I rang Spurs and told them I wanted tickets. And then I sent them a check, and then they sent me the tickets, and it was as easy as that. And so my dad didn't really want to go. He didn't really like football. To this day, he doesn't really watch football. I went with him from the first couple of years because I couldn't drive. And the first couple of years I went with my dad, and so did about 20 odd games. And my mum didn't like football. My brother still doesn't like football. None of my friends like football. And so the only reason I picked the Arsenal is because of my mum. Yeah. So
what's the connection with your mum then?
I was, when we went back in the day when you did PE, you went to primary school. I think I got to my first year would have been 1976. And so I had to have a PE kit. My mum went down to the local shop, looked at all the kits, and then asked the people there, I think, and they went, well, that's Man United, that's Liverpool, but I doubt it was Chelsea because they were probably a second division team back then. And then Arsenal, and she went, "Oh, Arsenal. Oh, she's Irish." She recognised Arsenal for O'Leary and Jennings and Pat Rice and Stapleton and all that lot.
Sammy Nelson, all that.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, she said, "I'll have that kit then," and that's why I become an Arsenal fan.
Wow. And none of your family are into football, but you're the only one. Wow.
Yeah.
Are you pleased you got into Arsenal? Or are you not?
Wasn't then. At the beginning, I wasn't. Then I was for a while, and now I'm not too sure again.
Oh, it's turbulent times, isn't it? But we are gonna get onto modern day.
Yeah.
So okay, Dan, tell me about your experiences at Highbury, and now at the Emirates, because they really differ for a lot of people, don't they?
It was. If anybody hasn't seen the film Fever Pitch, go and watch that. That is every Arsenal fan's experience of going to football in the late 80s, early 90s. And then after that, in the early 90s, it got a bit rubbish because we were rubbish, because we were a very small squad spread over 4 competitions in 93, 94, and 94, 95. Actually, you had 92, 93 to that, 2 massive cup runs. And you look back at some of those, and then we're playing maybe 60 games a season, something like that, as you well know.
Squad,
yeah. And often you'd get injuries, and then young people were called up to the squad. It's not like you do now, where you've got 30 first-team players, or the likes of Man City, where you can put out 2 different starting 11s that would smash in most teams.
Yeah.
Back then, it was you had no expectations. I suppose that's the best way to describe Arsenal in the late 80s. No expectations. And so you went just for the atmosphere. I don't remember the first game that I started taking notice of, but all the way through my first ever game at Spurs, just looking around the whole time thinking, wow, this is amazing. Listening to the chants, looking at the people, took no notice of the football because you didn't know, because you'd only ever seen it on TV. And you didn't know. Like now when I go to the football, you're looking at the positions of all the players and where they're running, and maybe have a look at what the manager's shouting. And you didn't do that then. You didn't know to do that then. All you'd seen on TV was the one camera angle
follow the ball,
time.
Follow the ball type thing.
And so when you eventually do start watching it, you look at where the ball is. Like when Paul Davis knocked out Glenn Cockrell, I was looking at the ball, I think, or the crowd. It happened right in front of me in the East Stand, and I didn't even see it. So
hardly anybody saw it, I've got to say. And by the way, I don't condone it, but what a punch! Wow.
Oh
Wow.
Quality.
Wow.
If you're going to do it, you might as well do it properly.
Do it properly, and he done it properly, all right, didn't he?
He certainly did.
Wow. So obviously that's Highbury, Dan. And you were, what was you, East Upper or East Lower?
East Lower, right next to the corner flag. You see any replays of Arsenal from about 88 to when we left. You look at some fat bloke, usually with an American NFL top on. There are 4 different ones in the corner next to the corner flag. That's me.
Yeah, but which corner flag?
Oh, look at the between
North
the
Bank,
East and
North Bank one.
No,
North
Clock
Bank end or Clock End?
Clock End.
Clock End. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So what about the Emirates now? Different feel.
Went to the first couple of games was Bergkamp's testimonial, and then I think it was Brazil, Argentina, and I went there and I didn't really feel anything.
Yeah.
Didn't enjoy the journey. It is very sterile. They've done a lot to change that now. They've got the murals up. They've put the clock back up. And the place it's looking lived in now. Apparently, by some people, it's looking too lived in.
A bit shabby at times, yeah.
It needs a lick of paint. I didn't like where I sat at the Emirates because when everybody stood up, I was. So I think I was. I don't know what section it is, but if you're looking at Wenger there, I was over to the right in that part of the stand. I don't know what it was called, and at the back of everyone else, because that's where I sat. Yeah. And when everyone stood up, I couldn't see.
You couldn't see anything.
Being used to sitting in the wheelchair section at Highbury, nothing was in front of me. The only time I ever had anything in front of me is during Champions League games where they'd have extra large hoardings. They'd be 1 metre tall.
Yeah.
And so they'd have to raise the platform. And so I went from having a magnificent view of everything to going, oh, look, they've all stood up. I can't see. And I didn't like the journey to the new stadium. I didn't like the feel of the new stadium. Even to this day, I still don't like it. But again, most old gooners don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bone of contention, isn't it? Moving, because I'm sure we're going to get to that a little bit later, Danny, as well. Dan, what's your early experiences of Arsenal winning trophies? Because, as you say, in '87, did you support the club when Arsenal won the League Cup?
Yes, that was the very first game I actually remember going out of my way to go and watch. I vaguely remember my dad had a friend, and I remember watching some of maybe the '84 World Cup. But it was on the telly, and I didn't take any notice of it. And then my best mate at the time, Julian, he didn't like football, but his 2 brothers, John Paul and Michael, they liked football. So I remember they all came down one day and looking at match of the grandstand was on, and the final results were in because Julian was West Ham. I think Michael was Liverpool and John Paul was Spurs. And they wanted to put the telly on to see the league table. And I remember thinking, Arsenal were really quite low down in the table. That's not very good. And Liverpool were right at the top. So Michael was happy about it. And so that probably would have been 85, 86. So I remember really getting into football.
Then,
about 86, 85, 86, trying to watch the odd game of when you used to get a couple of games a season that would be Arsenal. But that 87 League Cup final, I remember planning my day around it. And that's the first game I look back on and I remember happening.
Well, I mean, especially playing Liverpool in the final as well, Danny. Liverpool. And when Ian Russ scores, that was around. When Ian Russ scores, they never lose.
Yeah.
And then he scores in the first half, and the Gooners are going crazy. I was a 17-year-old kid. I travelled to Wembley with all the youth team, and all going coaches and players' wives and girlfriends and all this club staff. It was an amazing occasion, wasn't it? Oh, Wembley.
It was our first cup final at Wembley since 1980, West Ham.
Yeah,
I don't think there was any in between. I know there was the Cup Winners' Cup, but I think that was after. That'd have been 1980 as well. Yeah, they lost to
Fairs Cup, wasn't it? Or was it Fairs Cup? Yeah.
Oh no, it was Cup Winners' Cup. Fairs Cup was 71.
And was it the FA Cup? 80.
Which one?
80.
Yeah, because
that was
we
the
lost
last, wasn't it? West Ham.
78.
Yeah.
78 Ipswich, 79 3-2 Man United.
Yeah.
And then 80 we lost to 1-0 to West Ham. Yes, that was Arsenal's first cup final in in so long, and it used to have all the build up to it as well. And now you'd look at it and go, that's only the League Cup, but back then it meant so much to us. And like you said, for Ian Rush to score, and Liverpool had never lost, and then you think, well, that's all. I'd read it in match in 90 minutes. I'd read it all in there. And it's Liverpool are going to win it. It's a meaningless trophy for them because they won so much stuff. A few years before, I think they'd won 4 milk cups in a row, which was because of the League Cup. And then then Charlie Nicholas steps up. Hold my beer.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. For me as well, in the second half when Perry Groves came on, Perry Groves, he injected something into Arsenal, didn't he, in that game? I think that was one of Groves' finest cameos because they couldn't handle him.
Yeah.
In that game, and wow,
because he didn't have a defined position, did he? He could play. He was a utility forward, much like kind of maybe Martinelli is, or maybe how Saka started out. There's just a live wire, and you go, well, how are we going to mark him? He's all over the place. He'll do everything and anything.
He could play left, right, striker. And you know what? He was better than a lot of people gave him credit for, Grosey.
Yeah.
He really, really was. So, and also, I've got to ask you about 89.
Yeah.
Did you travel? And if you didn't, where were you?
Another game I remember really clearly. There was no way I'd ever travel. I mean, my old man was driving then, and he worked a 9-to-5 job, and I think he had another job as well. And so I remember my mate Barry was a Liverpool fan, another one who didn't even know where Liverpool was on the map, but he was a Liverpool fan. So we planned the day, and I think we'd gone out and got some food and non-alcoholic drinks because I'm not really a drinker. Yeah. And then sat on my Arsenal bed sheet. I had Arsenal bed sheets on there, and behind was the 86-87 Highbury lineup photo from pull out from Match magazine, and we were both Peterborough fans. Right. Arsenal first, but then I support my local team.
Nice one.
And then and my dad coming in and standing in the doorway like he used to, sticking his head around the door, watching the football. We had a 28-inch JVC TV, so I was loyal to the brand.
Loyal to the brand, you got to be definitely.
And then we watched it. And then I remember thinking, there's no way. I don't think any Arsenal fan in the world ever thought 2-0, no problem. I expected to go there and lose 3-0. The run up to that game had been quite magnificent. Liverpool should have won that league ages before that. But you were there, weren't you? Did you go up there?
Yes, I travelled with the team. And I travelled up the morning. Dave Rocastle picked me up from Brixton Town Hall I got there about 10 to 5. He picked me up at 5 o'clock.
Do you remember what car he had?
Rocky at the time,
I hope it was an Escort convertible or an RS Turbo or something.
No, it wasn't actually. Rocky had a, what car was it? It was a Mercedes? I think it was a Mercedes.
Quality.
I think it was a Mercedes. Rocky was a quality guy. I think he had a Mercedes at the time.
Nice suit.
Just for the lift alone, I was happy. You know what I mean, Danny? So we obviously went to Highbury, and we were the only ones going from Highbury. All the rest of the team and staff and everything were going from London Colney. So this is the Friday morning of the biggest game of his life. Me and Rocky are loading skips onto the Arsenal bus. Outside the ground. It was amazing. Packing boots with Tony Donnelly and doing all the bits and kits and skips and you name it. Rocky didn't bat an eyelid.
Yeah.
He just done it. So we travel up and obviously the rest is history. But on the reverse, Dan, obviously after the win, and I'll ask you, what happened when the goals went in. On the way back from Winners Club, myself, Tony Donnelly, and Rocky are on the bus coming back to Highbury now because we're the only ones who are going this way.
Yeah.
So Rocky leaves his car and we get a taxi, but there was a guy asleep on the steps, Dan. And he wakes him up and he says, Rambo, go and get 2 beers from inside. I said, no, I'll get him one. So he said, yeah, get 3 beers. So we get 3 beers. So Rocky wakes him up and he's asking the lad, how was his night? And the guy just he woke up and he was hugging Rocky. Rocky showed him the winner's medal and stuff like that, and the guy was just, it sounded incredible. Obviously, we saw the scenes after, but it must have
told
been,
his mates, and they all went, "You didn't meet Rocastle after the game."
There was no camera phones or anything like that. So it's a story of myth. But if anybody ever knows him, he was on the stairs.
He didn't make it all up.
No, he didn't make it up. So Dan, 0-0 at halftime. Are you watching it with your friend who's the Liverpool fan, or are you watching it
on ITV?
On ITV, which was brilliant. So at halftime, was he larging it up? What was he doing?
Of course he was. He is only a matter of time. Oh, we're going to win this. Just playing with you. This is Liverpool at Anfield with one of probably the second or third best Liverpool team ever. I mean, they weren't the greatest team like they were in the mid 80s. They were still bloody good. I mean, if any team you got Ian Rush in it.
John Barnes.
What and Stevie Nicol and all
Hansen
those lot.
And all these guys.
And I think Grobbler in goal.
Yeah.
Magnificent. And I was thinking, you're right. I'm surprised it's 0-0 at half time. And then plus, I think we changed the formation and Steve Bold wasn't playing as a centre back, was he?
Well, he was. He played free at the back.
Yeah,
he played free at the back. But
he wore the number 10.
He wore the number 10. But on every opportunity, Boldy would move up the pitch for set pieces. And he kind of went close in the first half, didn't he? And everyone was like, what's Boldy doing up there? But it was brilliant. We were sat with the Arsenal fans behind the goal, Dan. So
were you sat with Hills?
It was me, David Ilya, Alan Miller, Paul Davis, Stephen Morrow, Niall Quinn. There were all the ones that didn't change. We sat behind the goal with the Arsenal fans, and with like 5 minutes of the game to go, we kind of made it round the pitch. So when Alan Smith scored, Dan, what happened? Because I want to hear about your Liverpool fan friend.
I mean, I watched Fever Pitch a few weeks ago, and it was just like that. You're thinking, well, surely they're going to disallow it. It's cruel. If we're not going to win it, I don't want us to score a goal. I don't want to have to go through all the agony for the rest of the game, going, nearly. Can we do it? No, you're not sucking me into this. I'm not falling for the hype. No, and I think Barry was saying that we're still going to win. We're still going to score some goals. That's a lucky goal, fluky goal, and and I honestly believed him. I thought it's never going to happen. We're not going to do it.
And then Michael Thomas had one chance before that, didn't he?
Yeah,
he had an opportunity before that. What kind of got stuck under his feet? Did you think that? Did you think that was the chance?
That pushes you in the direction of thinking, hold on, they look vulnerable. We could do something here. Just keep doing the same thing. Keep attacking. Yes. They don't like it. Yeah. They can't cope with all the attacking. They look knackered, and the pressure for those playing at home. It's just another league title for those. They've won loads before that, and I think they hadn't won for 30 years since the last one before that.
Since 90,
yeah. And so I'm looking at thinking, we can't, can we? This can't happen. This is Arsenal. Arsenal don't win titles. The last title we won was in 71. This isn't going to happen. And then Barry's moaning about it. My dad's getting all excited. And I thought, my dad doesn't get excited about anything.
Your dad don't like football, Dad.
No, but he stood there the entire game in the doorway watching it. And then every now and then going downstairs and coming back up again. What's the score? I said, 1-0. I said, is it? He scored. I think his favourite player was Rocky. Yeah. And I think he was asking how all the players are getting on. I'm thinking, I'm trying to watch the game. You should.
Leave me alone, Dad. Yeah.
This could end up being a life-defining moment for some of this lot. I didn't think at the time, but turned out that it was. But I remember thinking the amount of pressure. We can't win. We're Arsenal. And they're Liverpool. These things don't happen.
Especially at their place. You know, it was a fortress, wasn't it? So Lukic gets it. Last knockings of the game, Dan. You think he's going to kick it, and he throws it out to Dixon.
Yeah.
What's going through your mind now? when Dixon gets it.
What you do in football, if you need a goal, like if you're losing 1-0 at home and you need to get that goal in the last minute, the goalkeeper gets it, hoofs it all the way down the end of the pitch. Alan Smith jumps up, nods it down, or Tony Adams will be there, or Bold, or O'Leary, and give it to one of the big ball, maybe you, one of the big lads, and then they'll either have a shot or they'll nod it down. There'll be elbows as far as the eye can see, and I'm thinking, well, there's seconds to go. What are you doing? Don't give it to Dixon. Dixon can take a decent penalty. He's not a bad player. What's he can? He's not exactly going to sprint down the wing, give it to Smith, and then Smith's going to put it through. Was it Smith that put it through to
Thomas? Thomas,
Smith, Rocastle, giving it to Thomas. I'm thinking, oh no, here we go. This is we've won the game 1-0. We can't expect anything else than that. And then Dixon runs down the right, and then he gives it to Smith. And you think, well, Smith should be on the end of this ball. Smith shouldn't be the one trying to create stuff here, although in his later career, he
was excellent at that, wasn't he?
Sacrificed his career to help Ian Wright get all those goals, and he doesn't get enough credit for that.
Very much so. He
become a supplier.
Yeah.
Then you're thinking, I don't want Smith to be there. I want Smith to be in the box. And then he puts it through to Thomas. And you think, well, Thomas fluffed the last chance that he had. He's not exactly a great goal scorer. And then things happen. And then
did it go slow motion for you, Dan?
It's slow motion in my head now. As he's running through. You think it wasn't the cleanest of runs, and you think someone's going to stop him. The grobbler's going to come out and take him down, or a player's going to come in and take him out. And then if it's going to be a foul, we're not going to get the penalty because this is Anfield. You don't get penalties at Anfield. Teams they get nothing. All you get at Anfield is abuse and a loss. And then slow motion, you're thinking, he scored. Oh, what are they going to do? Surely this isn't going to be allowed. You can't
do that at Anfield.
And then after a few minutes, you think, oh, we've won the league. Oh no, they're going to say no, that's disallowed, or they're going to bring it back for a foul, or there's going to be some underhanded shenanigans. You're thinking, the longer it goes on, we've won the league. This can't be right. And then after ages after, I remember thinking, they're going to do something about this. This isn't going to be allowed.
Yeah, Liverpool, they were too powerful at the time, weren't they?
Yeah. But it was allowed, and it went on.
But what an absolute unbelievable memory.
Yeah.
Dan, stuff like this we take with us to our grave, don't we? It was such an incredible experience to see Arsenal win the title at Anfield, which Liverpool were the team then, weren't they?
You expected absolutely nothing, and you got everything, and in such style. And how they didn't score. And then the old Steve, was it Steve Nicol?
Steve McMahon,
his watch.
1 minute.
Steve, that's it, Steve McMahon, looking at his watch, saying 1 minute. And then didn't John Barnes take it down, and rather than keeping it in the corner, he tried to have a shot, and that's how we got the ball back. And then...
Yeah, if you remember, Kevin Richardson was down with cramp just before that break. And Barnsley, you're at Anfield, you're 1-0 down. Barnsley he was taking it towards the corner flag, and then he cut inside. And you thought, well, he's in the box now. And Kevin Richardson done brilliant to nick the ball off him and give it back to John Lukic. And then the rest is history. The rest really is history. So, Dan, if there was one player who you would love to be playing now, who would it be and why?
A couple of years, the answer is usually Tony Adams, because he's my favourite player. We share a birthday. He's 4 years older than me, but we share 10th of October with Charlie George. But I think at the moment we got some decent defenders, so it's going to have to be someone creative, a goal-scoring central midfielder. Now, you'd think, well, we'd obviously want Henry, but at the moment, if you had Henry in the side, he isn't going to score.
Wouldn't make much difference. Yeah, it wouldn't make much difference because he can't get him the opportunities.
Yeah, because if it was Ian Wright there, he'd be out with a strained neck, looking up at all the crosses coming in, going, "Well, what are you doing? No, run, give them the ball, run at them." And Arteta doesn't want people to get the ball and run at them. I always say, as a defender, the last thing you want to see from Arsenal is Aubameyang running at you at 100 mile an hour, the ball at his feet. But they're not doing that. Yeah, it's just constant nightmare. So you'd want probably a new manager. That's who I'd want. I'd want George
Well, we're going to
Graham
get to that, but one player. You have to choose one.
For the current Arsenal situation, it can't be. It's probably gonna have to say Bergkamp, who's my third favourite Arsenal player.
Yeah.
Tony Adams, Ian Wright, and then Bergkamp.
Yeah.
So it's gonna have to be Bergkamp because his ability. We need someone who's going to set up the goals and be a strong enough character to go, I'm not playing football that way. I know how to play football.
Give it to me.
This is the way we're going to do it.
Give it to me and get moving.
Because he'd often drop deep and go and get the ball wherever it needed to be got from, and then work his magic from there. But normally any other team, you say Adams or Henry or Wright or somebody like that. But we don't need those at the moment.
Yeah, so it's a luxury. Wasn't it great to have all them players all on the same pitch at once, Dad?
Oh, just like eating all your sweeties on Christmas Eve and having nothing left for the rest of the holidays.
Oh man, that's brilliant.
Who would you pick?
Who would I pick? I would still want Tony Adams because I still think leadership is a massive problem for us.
Yeah,
I really do. And there might be a few who feels the wrath of his tongue because he wants it a certain way, but he's got great ways of doing it. And to get people on the same page, I think that's so important. The attitude has to be right. And I just don't think our attitude's right at the moment, Dan. And
true.
You know, it's difficult to take. Like I always say, Arsenal fans who have been there long enough know what a winning Arsenal team looks like. They know what it feels like, and that there's a trust in that, Dan. When you actually go to the stadium or you watch a game, you know what you're going to get. You know what to expect because the players don't let you down. The team could lose, of course they can, but you know they're going to have a go at it. They're not just going to capitulate. And I think what we're seeing now is an Arsenal. You know, it just is an Arsenal.
True.
So, number 7. What's your top 3 favorite Arsenal memories of your Arsenal career?
What, going to games or
anything? There's winning the title at Old Trafford. There's winning it at White Hart Lane. There's all different stuff, which I'm sure might be in your top 3.
I think the game in May '98 when we won the league at Highbury in Wenger's first full season. That game, I think we beat Everton possibly 3-0. I remember sitting there thinking, we've won the title again. That's twice.
That when Bold chips it through to Adams.
Yeah.
With the volley.
And he runs.
And he gives it all that one, Tony.
On the wing.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
Tony Adams on the wing.
I think it was 4-1, you know. I think it was 4-1, yeah. I think it was
we smashed Everton every time we played them. So I get confused with... so I think that one would have been one of them. And then a few weeks later, the 98 FA Cup final, that was another magnificent one with, I think it was... Did Mark Overmars score first or was it Anelka? It was one.
Was it 2-0?
Yeah, 2-0 against Newcastle.
Yeah, 2-0 against Newcastle.
Hottest FA Cup, it's one of the hottest games I've ever been to in my life. The poor lad next to me fainted and he had to be taken out by the staff there. Those 2 games were so important for me because that just showed, well, not only have we won the league in magnificent style with a very, even now people look back at that 98 team and that team was absolutely magnificent, partly because Ian Wright was there and the first half of the season was Ian Wright scoring the goals. Second half of the season was Anelka scoring all the goals. That's also my angriest moment as an Arsenal fan was when Wenger refused to bring Ian Wright on, knowing that Ian Wright's going to leave, knowing that Ian Wright has got us to where we are. He's a fan's favourite, and he brought on David Platt. That moment there, I just thought, oh, Wenger, you horrible! Why would you do that? We were 2-0 up. You could have brought him on. He's never played in an FA Cup winning side.
Yeah.
And he had the two Crystal Palace finals against Man United and the replay. And I remember thinking that soured it a little bit for me. And my third favourite thing, nothing jumps out. I did remember getting like the Old Trafford, the Sylvain Wiltord running through and then scoring the goal. That was magnificent. And then I'd probably say the Sol Campbell scoring the Champions League final. I was there in Paris with my mate Dean, an Everton fan, because none of my Arsenal fans could be bothered to come with me. And that was probably one of the most although I don't like European football, that moment there when Sol Campbell scored and we were down to 10 men, and I thought, wow, that is magnificent. I remember screaming loads at that and getting really, back in the day, and I don't celebrate goals anymore. I'm so apathetic about Arsenal at the moment. Very rare, unless it's against Spurs, I very rarely celebrate a scoring or scream. But I think those would be the three moments when I was the most most joyous about being an Arsenal fan. There's been loads of other stuff that's been really good, like
of course
most of Henry's goals and some of the stuff that we've done, and but the moment they're the first three that I can think of.
Right, fair enough. And Dan, you mentioned Arsene Wenger, so it sets it up quite nicely for number 8. Do you reckon Arsenal left Arsene Wenger with a virtually impossible task, which is why it ended so poorly for him?
They did. I think he was part of his own downfall was his fault. He had 4 generations of Arsenal youth, the cream of the crop of young players, and the amount of money they were on, and so many of them didn't work out, and constantly buying new ones and new ones and new ones. And the amount of decent players we got out of that was so few, whereas that money could have gone into paying the wages of better players, allowing us to become a club where, I remember Vieira year after year moaning that he wanted to go in the paper, saying he wants to go to Real Madrid, and Real Madrid coming in, tapping our players up. And then it's just, once the big players like that, you expect players like Tony Adams and Bergkamp stayed at Arsenal until they retired. Ian Wright didn't want to leave. Seaman was planning for the next season. He didn't want to leave. Yeah. Dixon retired at the club. Alan Smith retired at the club.
Martin Keown retired at the club.
Limpar. We had a Limpar on the podcast. He didn't want to leave. He was told
he loved Arsenal. Loved Arsenal.
And all these players that you're thinking, hold on, if this was any other club, they wouldn't be allowed to go. And that's when I started thinking, well, this isn't right. So I stopped going in 2005 after being going for about 87 to 05. So that's 18 years I went for.
18 years,
whatever number is. And then I thought, I can see this is all going wrong. The manager isn't getting in the best players. I'm not sure where the problem was. Now, he bought his book out, and I was hoping he'd, we all knew he wouldn't, but I was hoping Wenger would explain a little bit.
Shed some light. At least shed some light.
And he didn't. And so we're never really going to know. Now, we know that when David Dean was there, Wenger got everything that he wanted and more, because you had David Dean doing it. But then I think from about 2005, that's the era that I thought, this isn't going very well. That FA Cup final against Man United, Vieira's last kick of the ball was the penalty that won us the game. Very deflated. We were rubbish at that game, and things didn't seem to be going well. We were buying players that didn't really fit in. We had massive holes in the team when Vieira left. We didn't fill that hole until Gilberto turned up. Mm-hmm. And then all these other teams were catching us up, and Chelsea had all the money, and Man United always going to spend big. And then you had other players going to other teams. And I remember thinking, this isn't right.
Yeah.
Look at the history that we've got in the last few years. We've done the double twice in previous years, and we've won the league and all these things. And then once you get to the Champions League final, and we had some of his decisions, like to take Perez off, in a Frenchman playing the Champions League final in Paris. And then I think we were hard done by in that game, red card and a sending off, and a sending off and a penalty.
Yeah.
But you could start to see then that things weren't working out. And to this day, I don't know why. I don't know how it all started going, but it wasn't built on, like I've often said to Chris and a few of my own from my podcast, I'd like to go and get Football Manager 2005 and then see if I could do a better job, because it can't. There's got to be. If anybody knows, do you have any ideas? Does anybody know why it all started to fall apart after about 2005? After such a magnificent, invincible season, you'd think the downfall of the club was so quick.
For me, the mentality of the club changed, and it wasn't about, because we had the big players. We'd been in the Champions League final, and that team didn't need much, Danny. I reckon if Lehmann wasn't sent off, Arsenal win that game.
Yep.
So for me, it was a matter of bring another one or two in, because you're feared in Europe now.
Yeah.
You can go there again. But they started to dismantle that team. And when you start dismantling that team and you're not bringing in players that are as strong or better, you're going to go weaker. And then the excuse, or whatever it is, that we moved to the Emirates, and we're moving to the Emirates to be at the top table with the likes of Milan's and Bayern Munich and Barcelona and Real Madrid, etc. And you just slowly saw players who were top quality players at Arsenal being sold off, or the club getting into loggerheads over contracts with players. That's another thing. The fans will kick off, though the players greedy, etc. But we saw it so many times, and it was too many times, Dan, where the player had apparently been so greedy that the club in the end, sold the player or let the player go.
Like Ashley Cole,
exactly.
£5,000.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. And then really, it leaves Cesc Fabregas. That's what was left. And for all his powers, he couldn't do it alone. He needed the big boys with him. And we changed tack. And then it was Gazidis and metrics and all this nonsense. We haven't been the same club for 17, 18 years. Well, 17 years probably, Dan. And that's the difficult thing to take when you know what it feels like, you know what it looks like, but the club will not do the right things.
I think not having David Dean there, because David Dean was sent out to go and find people to buy the club. I mean, that's the rough explanation of it. And then he went and found Usmanov, and then he went and found Kroenke, and then I think he sided with Usmanov, and then they went, oh no, we're not going with that. We're going to go with Kroenke, and so he was kind of frozen out of the club.
Yeah.
And so that bloke who was Arsenal, he was the person there who wanted the best for the club. I think looking back at it, if he'd have stayed, things would have been different, because every player who talks about David Dean, they talk about him in
glowing terms, don't they?
That's it.
He was Mr. Arsenal.
Yeah, and plus when he left, we lost all the power we had on the Premier League board, because he not only was he on it, I think he was the leader of it, or whatever that committee was called. Yeah. I think he was also got into the European one where he had a say in that lot, and then he was gone. And then we were left with going, it's like, who was the bloke who went to AC Milan? Gazidis, hadn't he just made it onto the Premier League board or whatever they call it? And then when he went, we didn't have a representative on there.
No reps, yeah.
Yeah. I think that has got a lot to do with it as well. But you have to ask these players why. I mean, Henry, why did you leave? I remember his last ever game for us, PSV, Champions League, home leg. He got injured and he didn't come off. He stayed on the pitch, hobbling around, because you knew it was his last game.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to ask him, well, why did you go? Barcelona fans don't give a damn about you, Henry. The Arsenal fans loved you. This is why I don't like him, because you went to Barcelona for money. But if you'd stayed at Arsenal, he had another 4 or 5 good years left in him. And then that was the final straw. When he went, you might as well have gone, might as well pack up and give up.
The problem was, he wanted to win the Champions League. He wanted to win.
Could have won it with us.
Unfortunately, not with what was going on at Arsenal. And, you know, when you look at the squad he was involved with, that's the best squad in Europe that should have won it, that never won it.
But if he'd have stayed, other big name stars would have gone, I'm going to Arsenal to play with Henry.
Dan, they wouldn't do it because Arsenal weren't buying them. They weren't buying him, and that's the problem at Arsenal. So that leads us on to number 9, which is quite interesting. Who do you think has been responsible for Arsenal being in such a difficult financial position when we're led to believe we moved to the Emirates to compete with Europe's biggest clubs? Is it the owners, or is it Gazidis and the people who controlled the transfers? Because, I mean, we should be a lot stronger than we are, Dan. We should be a lot stronger.
It's very easy to blame the club for everything and people at the club. And although we have been mismanaged, I put the blame at the feet of the FA for allowing Man City and Chelsea to do what they've done. I don't know any. There's been a few other teams around Europe. Parma did it. Parmalat, who owned Parma, they put, I think, the equivalent of 1 pence on the price of milk that funded all the stuff that they did. And then you've had Malaga. They did it in Spain. They had someone come in and chuck a load of money in it, and that only lasted a couple of years, which is why we got Monreal and Cazorla off of those for cheap. And you've had a few other people come in, other clubs all around the world, chuck a load of money at it and gone, well, this isn't working. And then give it like the Chinese people have done with Inter Milan. And they've now gone, we're not doing this anymore. The FA for letting Man City and Chelsea ruin English football by coming in and going, we'll have everybody. We'll spend all the money, no matter what. And if you'd have looked at when the Chelsea owner, Abramovich, when he came in, if you'd have said, what did he came in about 2003, 4, something like that? If you'd have said he'd still be doing this best part of 20 years later, throwing money at the club, they've had a couple of years where they haven't done it, and a year where they weren't allowed to do it, and then you think they'll still be doing it in 20 years. You go, no sugar daddies come in and like Sir Jack Walker when he did it at Blackburn. He did it for a few years, and then sadly he passed away, and his legacy is not really seen there because they've spent the rest of they went down a few years later. Yeah. But the length of time that Man City and Chelsea have just been pumping money and money. We always know Man United are going to do it because they have got such a global reach and the amount of money they got coming in. And Liverpool, we all knew one day Liverpool would be back, and they've got a massive global reach. But Chelsea and Man City are second division teams. They may have had some times in the 60s and 70s, but in modern football, they are tier 2 teams, up, down. They're like I would say West Ham, but West Ham are pretty decent. They're like West Brom, up and down all the time. Everyone liked the boing baggies who you played for.
Yeah.
I think everybody likes West Brom, but you honestly would never think that they would be able to sustain 20 years of chucking endless amount of money and wage. And we all know dodgy stuff has gone on. You can't point to any fingers to any particular people, but you all know that somewhere someone has got a bank account with lots of money in, and it's all may possibly been undeclared, or they've been given a scratch card that said it's £1 million winning scratch card, and they've gone, have that, you bought that.
They've got 20 of them. What are you talking about? They've got 20 winning cards.
But you can't blame Arsenal for trying. We should never have left Highbury. We know that in hindsight. But you could see what they were trying to do, go from 38,500 to 60,000 to make more money, to grow. And then if Chelsea and Man City wouldn't have had all the oligarchs putting all that money into it, and the oil billionaires putting their money into it, I'm not sure that I would have trusted the Arsenal people to have pumped all that extra money into the club that they would be making from gate receipts and sponsorship and naming rights and all that other stuff. But it would have been interesting to see in a parallel universe if Man City and Chelsea hadn't have done what they've done. I think we'd have had a lot. That success would have gone on. I don't think it would have gone on forever because nothing ever received for Liverpool and Man United. Man United haven't won anything in years. Yeah. We've won more than Man United in recent years. But it's too easy to blame the club and blame the owners and blame everything. No one could foresee Chelsea and Man City what they've done, and they have killed football in English football. They have killed because you can't compete. You go, I want, like with Juan Mata, perfect example. Agreed to come to Arsenal. Chelsea come in and go, well, we'll give you an extra 30 grand a week. And then if we'd have gone 50, they'd have gone, all right, we'll give you 60.
Yeah,
and then
you can't compete with that because they could always top you.
Yeah, it's like playing poker with my mate Sexy Frank. He's got 5 houses and some nice cars. I could put everything I own in there, and he go, I'll put another house on that. He go, well, how can I beat that?
How can I raise? Yeah, you can't. Yeah. It won't even see you. He just raise you. Yeah,
that's it. And then I'll end up having to fold. Yeah. And then find out he's got a pair of 2s or something.
Oh jeez. Sexy Frank, that's funny. But listen, we're gonna take it to the last one. And Dan, I know we're gonna have to come back. I'm gonna have to come back for a part 2 with you because listen, I'm enjoying this myself.
Yeah.
But here's the final question, number 10. If you could change any 3 things at Arsenal, what would they be?
You would immediately think Vinay, Edu, and Arteta, because you don't have 3 people doing that job for the very first time. You could probably get away with 1 person out of those 3 key roles. And we've seen that Arteta is very stubborn. He copies Pep. You saw Pep in the Champions League final last year when, I've made it to the final at last. What I'm going to do is reinvent football.
I'm going to tinker.
We're not going to play with a striker. Oh, we're not going to do this. We're going to do... No, Man City fans should be furious at that. But
they are, trust me.
Are they?
Oh, yeah, they are.
I don't know any.
They are.
Yeah, well, that was a 10-year project ruined by him trying to go, I'm going to outsmart everybody. But I think the easiest way to do that would be to get rid of all 3. Maybe only need 1 or 2 needs to go. They've done really well, Edu and Vinay. They've done brilliantly getting players in. I can see the plan. The plan is, if it doesn't work for Arteta, the next manager who's going to come in is going to go, all these young, brilliant players that I could mould to my own. He hasn't come in and with a load of players, Cech, Luiz, Willian, Pepe, all these players that was another manager's idea, and Arteta has had to get rid of all of those out. Mustafi, Kolasinac, Papi, and Ozil, get rid of all of that lot. That's another manager's thing. That took 2 windows to get rid of that lot. So I understand that. Players that have got come in are good. It annoys me when people go, we were offered 20 million for Eddie and Nketiah. Were you? Did they come out and say you were? Is there any written information that you were? So you can't keep going, West Brom wanted Maitland-Niles, they offered 20 million and so wanted Reece Nelson and they were going to pay 15 million. And until it's released by Arsenal on their website saying we've had an offer for 15 million, which is never going to happen. So you can't blame the club about any of that lot. But the deals could have been done differently. But when there's a problem, when you're paying players to go away. I don't remember in my whole time at Arsenal of paying a player to go away.
Yeah.
And we've done that with so many of them. But I think the major problem is they're all learning on the job, and you can't do that. You can't have the 3 key things, plus with an owner who's
not interested.
Yeah,
he's not interested. Let's be honest.
Apparently, Josh is interested, and Josh is likes it and is doing what he can. But again, we don't know, do we? But yeah, I think the 3 key things. I mean, if I was going crazy, I'd say get George Graham back, move back to Highbury, and and get you and Wrighty back for a few games.
You know what, Dad? I would love to, but there'd be one problem. Me and Wrighty will be fighting in the dressing room every day because, as I said, the attitude isn't right as far as I'm concerned. And when you're an Arsenal fan, you've had that trust before with the team. It's not right, Dan. It's just not right at the moment.
I mean, you can't. I don't know what Arteta's doing when he thinks you can bring Xhaka back, make him captain for the first game, and then when he's getting sent off, not giving him a slap round the back of the head. Give him a little pat on the bum.
He should have never been at the club after throwing the top and the captain's armband down.
Yeah,
should have been gone. That should have been his death knell, never to be seen again. But listen, Dan. Listen, we're gonna have to do this again. We're gonna have to do part 2 because I enjoyed this one too much. So, would you come back?
Oh, I'd do anything for you, Kev.
Well, listen. Hopefully, we can do a part 2. Danny from a Bergkamp Wonderland. Who are you? Was first 10 questions was fantastic, and hopefully I'll get you again. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.